purchased a tape of a message that I preached about 3 years ago, and rather than play his own message from his own service, he had played this particular message for the last 2 weeks and had sold some several hundred copies of this message. That, coupled with the fact that one of our ministers, who's now back in Atlanta with his own church, said to me when I preached this sermon a couple of years ago that I should preach it at least once a year. And so, since it has been 3 years, it's time to preach it again. I want to talk about love, sex, and marriage. Love, sex, and marriage. This is a very deep and a very difficult subject. It is one that no one sitting in this sanctuary today has mastered to its fullest. Love, sex, and marriage. I'm going to say some hard things today. Prayerfully, they will help you, inspire you, encourage you, enlighten you, empower you. As we talk about this subject, love, sex, and marriage, America has become the leader of the world in family breakup. As regards love, sex, and marriage, there is nothing in life that starts with such high hopes and such shining expectations and yet fails so often. Every aspect of our lives is affected by love, sex, and marriage. All of the attendant consequences that afflict and affect us as a community. Yea, even the demise, the dissolution, the desecration, the destruction, the denigration of our families and our communities can be directly traced to this phenomena of love, sex, and marriage. In the African American community, and I don't wish to speak disparagingly of any other community, but I should think that if we can solve the problem of love, sex, and marriage in the African American community, it will solve it for everybody. Because whatever problems we have, whatever problems there are in the world, if you look at the African American community for what is a runny nose for another community, is pneumonia in the African American community. There is an exponential ingredient. There is a factor that we must enter into the equation that says whatever is true for any other community, multiply it 8, 9, 10 times for the African American community. We look at a community today where 70% of our households are female-headed only, where there has been a 330% increase in child molestation, where our girls are becoming pregnant at prolific rates and our boys are running the jails over. We have the highest divorce rate in America. In our community, 7 out of 10 marriages have already been bombed, encased, and buried in irretrievable, irreconcilable vault final decision. The remaining 3 are in the intensive care unit receiving an intravenous injection of high-powered prayer and concentrated hope. Love, Sex, and Marriage has suffered a thromboplastic aneurysm, and only the serum of truth and obedience can cure the illness. As with any problem in the area of mathematics, no problem can be rightly solved unless we start with the right premise. There are certain foundational truths that must be known in order to solve the problem. So then, let's look at this text for a moment and do a little exegetical extrapolation before we get into this subject of love, sex, and marriage. In this text, Jesus is asked the question by his constant nemesis, the Pharisees. They want to know, Jesus, what is your stance on divorce? How do you feel about it? Do you think that men should be able to get divorces when they want to? What is your position? But Jesus, rather, because he understood that the real dilemma was not just about divorce, Jesus enters into a discussion on love and marriage. He says in the first instance that love and marriage is ordained of God. It has divine sanction, a definite form, a specific character, and a particular order. He says that in the beginning, when God established man in the earth, he made them male and female. Not Adam and Steve. In this age of gender commonalities, not Esther and Eve, but Adam and Eve. He made it clear that there was a definite form and a specific character and a particular order that was ordained and sanctified by God. In so saying, he says that God is the author of love, sex, and marriage. I find that quite interesting when we consider many of the songs that we sing at our weddings today. You light up my life. Without understanding that if it is God ordained and God sanctioned, it's going to take more than you lighting up somebody's life. I would think that's what David meant when he said, the Lord is my life and my salvation. A ribbon in the sky rather than religion on the earth. I know about the common ideas that we hear, the cut and dry expressions of many church folk who have a lot of narrow, myopic, parochial, provincial views when it comes to love, sex, and marriage. So I want you to wrestle with me for a few minutes with these 3 words: love, sex, and marriage. Away with the cut and dry, simple answers, but what do you say? As I had to respond to a series of phone calls, first from a sister who called me in the wee hours of the morning and said, Pastor, I'm tired of the old life and I don't want to live, but I'm pregnant with new life and I don't want to die, but my husband just sat on the side of the bed and told me about 8 different women that he's having sex with. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Or another call that comes and says, Pastor, I can't stand it anymore. I don't even want him to touch me anymore. He sleeps on the couch and I sleep in the bedroom, and I've taken as much as I could take, but it went to the end the other day. He hit me, and what must I do? Or another who called said, hey, Rev, you remember 5 years ago when you asked me, was I sure?